a look at those business news. Stephen is with us here on set. Stephen, you're starting with the latest in talks over the North America Free Trade Agreement. Can't even say what it actually is.
Just say NAFTA.
NAFTA is easier, isn't it? NAFTA.
Yes, NAFTA it is. This is the latest comments from President Trump saying that he'll impose tariffs on imports of steel from Mexico and Canada unless they agree to what he calls a fair trade deal. But his trade representative says progress on talks to reform NAFTA have been slow. The US wants to change some 30 chapters in the deal, but after 7 months of talks, the parties have only managed to reach agreement on 3. Robert Lighthizer says they're still working towards a breakthrough.
As President Trump has said, we hope for a successful completion of these talks, and we would prefer a 3-way tripartite agreement. If that proves impossible, we are prepared to move on a bilateral basis if agreement can be made.
In response to threats of tariffs in the United States, Mexico and Canada have pledged to fight back. Let's listen to ministers from both countries speaking as those NAFTA talks wrapped up.
Canada believes that these restrictive trade tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum are absolutely unacceptable. It is wrong to see trade with Canada as a threat to the national security of the United States.
It makes all the sense in the world that Mexico be excluded from the steel tariffs plan. Mexico should be excluded simply because the most integrated industry in the world is steel in North America. From the balance of trade, Mexico buys more steel than what it sells to the US. We have a deficit of about $2 billion.
Some talk of trade tariffs on steel is also worrying car makers, isn't it?
In tweets over the weekend, President Trump specifically mentioned punishing European car makers if a transatlantic trade war was to become a reality. Now, that's casting a shadow over the Geneva Motor Show, which opens to the press today. Car makers, of course, keen to show off their latest models at a time when a focus is shifting to greener cars. Well, we can go to Geneva now, and we're joined by Torsten Müller-Ottwos, who's the Chief Executive of the Rolls-Royce Motor Cars company. Thank you very much, Mr. Müller-Ottwos, for speaking to us this morning. Are you worried about these threats from Donald Trump of imposing tariffs on car makers?
I don't want to go now into the details of that, but let me tell you one thing. Rolls-Royce, and you might know that, is part of the BMW Group. And the BMW Group is a major investor when it comes to the United States, not only in manufacturing facilities, but also building up many, many jobs, job cards for Americans, and brought quite a lot of wealth into the United States. And for that reason, I think everybody should be interested in free trade, and let's wait and see how that goes. But, as you rightly said, we are here in Geneva, and we, from the Rolls-Royce side, we are presenting our new flagship, the Phantom 8, here, proudly, and I'm very much looking forward to that presentation later today.
The Phantom, of course, a long-running name in the Rolls-Royce family. What sort of people are buying Rolls-Royces now? Where in the world are they? What sort of age profile are your customers?
I mean, we are talking here people, we call them ultra high net worth individuals, so people who probably have assets around 30 million and more. That's a definition by private banking. And these people are, interestingly enough, getting younger and younger, not only in Asia, but all over the world. And what had happened also with our clientele is that we have lowered average age of Rolls-Royce buyers by over 10 years. A couple of years ago, we had been on around 58 as an average age, and we are now down to 45, which is a significant difference, very much also on the back of Wraith, our fastback coupe, which opened up complete new target groups worldwide, and Dawn, then later the convertible. And with our next project, the Cullinan, the SUV of Rolls-Royce, we will also open up complete new doors. And I think what you need to tackle in this segment here, complete new target groups, younger ones who made their money early in their days by IT, by real estate, whatsoever businesses.
Of course, the global economy is doing pretty well, so there are more people who have money to spend on things like Rolls-Royces. Is your business affected by economic trends? Do you worry about the next downturn?
I mean, we are not immune against any recessions or whatever. Just to outline one example, the Middle East, one of our strong regions worldwide, faltered a bit over the last years due to the oil price and due to the weak economy. But on the other side, we also see many other markets really booming and going up massively. For instance, China is back on track very strongly. The United States is very strong. Europe got back on track. And also we see in Asia, for instance, Japan, a very, very strong market. Yes, coming back to your question, there is a certain relation between the development, the economic development in a country and our sales at the end of the day.
There's lots of talk at Geneva this year, I imagine, about more electric vehicles, more greener cars. Rolls-Royces have very big engines. Are you making any moves in that direction to reduce the diesel aspect or the emissions aspect of your cars?
I mean, first of all, we are quite minute. We are a little, very precious drop in the overall ocean of automotive car business. We are selling around 4,000 cars a year. So for that reason, the overall effect is really very, very limited. But I said already that in the next decade, Rolls-Royce will start to go electric, that's for sure. And that is driven on the one side by customers asking for that, but also on the other side by the legal side. For instance, in China, where you might see electric cars only from a certain point in time in the next decade. And we will have an answer for that, rest assured. So Rolls-Royce fits as a brand perfect to an electric engine. It's talky, it's silent, so a very well fit.
Okay, Torsten Müller-Ottwas, Chief Executive of Rolls-Royce, thank you very much for speaking to us from Geneva.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thanks.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the stock markets. Yes, of course, those trade moves in the United States being watched closely by investors as well. Bit of a relief around in Asian trading today. Fears of an all-out trade war appear to be receding from an investor point of view. A drop in the yen versus the dollar helping to boost exporters in Japan. That's helping the Nikkei in Tokyo. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng also up over 2% in trading too.
Let's talk about Airbus now. It's been one of the difficulties that it may face over Brexit.
The aerospace giant has 2 plants in the UK. They employ around 15,000 people. But its senior vice president in Britain says the company may have to start stockpiling parts in order to avoid border delays in the event of customs changes after Brexit. Catherine Bennett says the increased cost could make its British operations uncompetitive.
Social media now, Britain's biggest social media platform, has hit rather a major milestone.
China's biggest social media platform.
What did I say?
Britain's.
I don't know where I am today. China. It's close.
It's called WeChat. I'll tell you that much. They have 1 billion users now around the world. The network's owners, Tencent, say that they passed the 1 billion mark during Chinese New Year celebrations last month. WeChat is a messaging service that also allows users to send money, play games, book tickets and shop. Now, it does still lag behind Facebook's WhatsApp, though. They passed 1.3 billion users last July.
And finally from Stephen, although it might be better if he stayed, the man who became as the farmer bro during a drug price hike scandal has been hit with a massive fine.
Martin Shkreli rose to prominence for jacking up the price of life-saving drug. Now a judge has ordered him to give up $7.3 million in assets after being convicted of defrauding wealthy investors. He is allowed to appeal the judgment, but if it is upheld, the articles he would have to sell make an interesting list. They include a Picasso painting and a one-of-a-kind Wu-Tang Clan album. Shkreli, oh God, I'm catching it now. Martin Shkreli claims he paid $2 million for the only copy of the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin record, and you may have to sell it now.
You did have to say Wu-Tang Clan album and Martin See?
Shkreli.
Very good. We'll just do alternate words.
Fine, it's a good deal.
Yeah. Stephen with Business on France 24.